Hello.
Welcome to the Grieving Sisters podcast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you've seen our first two episodes. The
So
first was
exciting.
kind of just like introducing ourselves, which we'll be doing every episode.
Yes.
And we got a little spicy
On the second
episode
one.
2,
Oh
talking
my
about
goodness.
social media. I recapped my mother. She was like, good,
Very good.
good. And I was like, you're going to like that one.
I love that we get mom's approval.
Right. So I'm Elizabeth. This is Jessica. We have been friends since we were 8 years old.
Yeah. We have some good pictures
So
too.
we are. Yes. You'll be seeing some good pictures. So this is 32 years of
Yeah.
friendship.
Yeah.
Jessica and I both lost our younger siblings
Yeah.
and have found so much solace and healing, sharing our
Just healing journey.
the whole
grief.
journey,
The steps and everything.
It has been 6 years since Shawnee
Yeah,
passed.
6 years.
And it's been 4 months, just a couple of days ago, that I lost my sister and my brother-in-law. So we, as Jess was putting this, I'm just a certified yapper. I am a professional yapper.
I used to interview people for Planted Seed Group, and I had like my YouTube and Instagram, and then it just started to fade out. So I was like, okay, let's put this on pause.
Right.
It's not a failure, but we're going to pick it back up. And I thought that this was like such a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But, for this episode, we do want to dedicate this to Natalie and her husband, if you want to share some things about him as well.
Absolutely.
And I also have a funny story about Natalie. So the thing is to, just to kind of give some brief background. We were in like 5th, 6th, 7th, 4th grade together. We've done the birthday parties when you guys put cake on my face. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I have those pictures and my silly face pictures. And, my sister graduated with Natalie. They graduated kindergarten together.
Right.
And then my younger brother obviously just tagged along with, so they,
Right. I remember.
yeah, so it was
He
just
would
like,
always be like hanging around.
yes, all the time, and I always had to take them with me. So with that being said, I knew Natalie obviously since she was a little girl, and I have like such a funny story, and I never shared it with Elizabeth.
Oh my God, I want to hear it first.
It's a good story. All right, you want to hear it first?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So I worked at a hardware store for, oh my gosh, it was like 9 years. And I worked with her best friend. And
That's right.
I think that they just like turned 21, 22, if that, right? Because I'm about 3 years shy, 2-3 years shy from them.
Right.
And it was like the last couple of, I guess, Saturdays that Copacabana in New York was still open. So we went before it closed. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm hanging out with these youngins. So your sister's best friend, she's like, come on, Jess, we're all going to go to the city. And I'm like, all right, I hate getting to the city, but I love being in the city. So I was like, fine, we get there. And all of a sudden, I'm like, Nat, what are you doing here? I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in so many years. You're a woman now. Like,
Right.
you're all grown up.
Right.
Like, I can't. Like,
Right.
I still see you as a
Wearing
little...
like actual women's clothes.
Right.
Because
like...
she was such an athlete. She was just always in like basketball shorts.
But still,
yeah.
But she was just this dope soul, right? And hence for the shirt, and I'll get to that for a second. I said to her, I was like, why am I hanging out with you? I hang out with your sister.
Right.
I'm like, what's going on here? We're not supposed to be hanging out together.
Yeah.
And she just started laughing. And then like we left. I forget like what happened. Somebody got sick. I don't know. You know how that goes when you hang out with youngins.
Right.
And then we were leaving.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you're so cool. I said,
She was a great time.
I said, okay, you can't tell Elizabeth, but I think you're cooler than her.
She is.
I said,
I'm the boring sister.
I go, Nat, you're so cool. I said, I want to hang out with you more. I said, I love Elizabeth. Please don't ever tell her. That's my girl, but I love you.
She's definitely
a good time.
Fun. Yes.
A good time.
Yes.
Always. Like and it was just so much fun. And I just like, I always appreciated that time.
Right.
And I was like, when am I ever going to tell Elizabeth? Because this is not like a story you tell.
Yeah.
On like text message or a DM or whatever. Like this is like one of those in-person things,
Right.
So I knew that we were going to dedicate this episode to her. And one of my best friends, she has her clothing line. She paused it for a while called Dominant Vibes. And it is all up Natalie's like alley.
Right, yeah.
And as you could see, my shirt, dope as F. And, this just described her. And
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta wear the
That is so
shirt.
funny because I wore my shirt is that wasn't very cash money of you.
Oh, I love that.
Because she
I
loved
love
juveniles. She
Stop.
loved cash money.
Wait,
she loved
that's my favorite song
back that
ever.
ass up. That was
That's
like her thing. Yeah.
No,
So
it was at my wedding.
I
It
was
was
like,
really
I'm gonna
bad.
wear this today for her, and these are actually her huge
Oh,
hoops that fell on one of her carry-on bags. When I was cleaning out her apartment, I grabbed a bunch of stuff, and I was like, you know
sure.
what? I'm gonna wear big gold hoops
I
for
love
Nat
that.
today.
I love that.
But yeah, and thank you for sharing that.
Oh my gosh.
And I love that. I love when people are like,
I
oh my
love
God, I
it.
have this funny story. And everybody has like a funny story
Yes.
or a funny clip
Yes.
with her.
Yes.
Um,
Because she touched so many lives.
she really did.
And as
she was
much-
herself. Open.
Yes. Yes. Authentic at all times. And if you didn't like it,
Yeah.
go scratch,
Right.
and I love that about her. And I love
Right.
that about a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Because that also tells us, like, sure, we're the older ones, we're the motherly, the
Right.
nurturer, but it's like we can step back a little bit and be like, you can be yourself for a second, get out of that
Right.
mother role. And
Right.
she was that person to
My
bring that out of
cousin-
you.
My cousin mentioned that at her wake, she was like Natalie wore a white coat with Jordans.
Yeah.
She was tatted up.
Yes.
Crazy.
Crazy tatted.
Crazy tatted up.
Unapologetically
Yeah.
her.
And it was like, something that I learned from her was like, you don't have to fit into any kind of box.
Yes. Enough with the checking the boxes.
Right. Like
Yeah.
you can be yourself. You
Yes.
can listen to rap. You could, be tatted. You can go to medical school. You
Yes.
can be in the Navy.
Absolutely.
She would like very strategically have tattoos like here, not here. So that
Right.
on her uniform, you can't,
Yes.
so it was.
Like she still had the little splash of
Yeah.
spiciness,
She absolutely
and
did.
that is how I will always remember her. And again, when I saw that news, I was just, I was in the middle of transitioning from one client to the next, and I had like 2 minutes, so I was like, let me just check my Facebook,
Right.
just check,
Yeah.
and not even check like Instagram for like messages, but let me just like scroll,
Right.
and then until the next client. And as soon as I saw that, I was just jolted out of my chair, and I was
Right.
like, this is not true.
Right.
This is not true.
Yeah, I was in denial.
Yeah.
Until like
Yeah.
I spoke to a state trooper and I
Yeah.
was like, okay.
Yeah.
This is like real. you
Yeah.
know? And so I thought about like how do I start to talk about her, honor her? I did my sister is buried in a veterans cemetery, which
My
I
grandfather
found
is.
her grandfather's grave today.
I mean, the alignment. I mean, really, come on.
Crazy. And the
Yes.
same because they were both veterans. And
Yes.
so I went to visit her today and I was like, if there's anything you want me to mention, like
Yeah.
make sure you like, give it to me. You like,
Yeah.
And so I thought about, sharing her, sharing a bit of my journey through. Let me put my readers on because, we getting up there. So funny
I
story.
can't believe we're there.
Funny
We're
story.
there.
My daughter says, Mommy, why do you read your phone like a statue? And I was like, what? And she's like, you're always reading your phone like this. Like you're like a statue. And I was like, oh, I can't see. I'm like, okay. So let me try some readers. And then I
Yeah.
was like, whoa. Right.
Here we
I'm
are.
like, here we are.
And we used to make fun of the other people with
Yeah,
them.
I know. I was like, what are these weird glasses everywhere? Like, you see them in like Marshalls.
Yes,
And
yes.
These are Anthro. And I actually really love them.
I love them.
So I think I definitely want to reflect on like the bond that we share.
Sure.
Exploring a little complexity of like mourning a loved one.
Mm.
And definitely the impact on both heart and mind.
Yeah.
And hopefully whoever is tuning into this could, even if you haven't lost a sibling, at least you can find some solace and like you're not alone in this, right? And that was like
Yeah.
such a big thing that we had talked about, like there's so many people that have lost siblings.
Yes.
And once you start to get into the grief community, like I've really been in the grief community on TikTok since the
Yeah.
moment this started. There
Wow.
are some wonderful resources on TikTok.
Wow.
There's a grief counselor that once a week she goes live at noon.
I love
And
that.
everybody can just jump in, but it's not really tailored for siblings.
Sure.
I did find one or two people that were sharing their journey, and that's how
Sure.
I started sharing my journey on TikTok. And then when we connected, I was like, yeah, I'm already kind of doing this on
Right.
TikTok. Like I would love to do a pod. So there's just a lot of resources out there. And then, so, one of the things that I had shared, I wrote this on November 19th. My sister died on November 13th, as well as her partner, Simba Wallace. Simba Wallace I won't say was, he is.
You're not
His
there yet.
legacy lives on.
You're not there yet. Yeah.
My sister got married. My sister and my brother-in-law were married just under 2 years, about a year and a half when the accident happened. She's deployed, he's deployed. So he had been deployed for quite some time, and then he got, he had to be out a little bit later. And so he returned home, and she was celebrating her birthday with me in September. And we spent so much time together. Which
I saw your posts, and I
mean, we was outside.
You was running streets real quick.
We were in the San Gennaro Fest.
I love it.
We stayed at the Moxie Hotel. We just had the best time, me, her, and my cousin.
But imagine that's the last time. Imagine. You would have never thought.
I know. You would never think. And then she was going to see the Alicia Keys on Broadway thing. And there was like some Mexican festival or something in the middle of Midtown, and they closed down everything.
So
and
random.
She was like, I need to get to this like theater show. And but we were like laughing, but frustrated. It was like a really nice extra long car ride, which like, thank you for the long car ride,
Yeah.
And then we went to see Beetlejuice. We went to the movie. Like, we did so many random things.
I love that.
And she was like, I gotta go. I'm like, why? Because my sister had separated from the military, and she took a job in civilian life. That's what they say, you're like doctor in the Navy, doctor in civilian life.
Right.
And so she got this great job, Virginia Beach. I mean, really, finally she was getting out of the Navy. She did some other programs,
sure,
but she was like joining this medical group where she was gonna work like 3 days a week and like one weekend, and she was like, great. They were buying in Virginia Beach. But fun fact, and you know this, we found all her offer letters and everything, and we contacted her job and told them what happened, but her start date ended up being the date of her wake.
Oof. How insane is that?
Yeah. So you sign up for a job, and they're like, oh, your start date is December 1st. And then everything's a blur, and you plan everything.
Right.
And then I remember setting up her wake and being like, she was supposed to be starting her job today.
Yeah.
And I remember calling her job and telling them, and they were just floored.
Yeah.
But going back to her spending time with us in September, her husband was coming home from deployment. He was deployed for 9 months. So imagine being married finally.
Yeah.
I mean, they were together for a while, but like imagine being married a year and a half, and the past 9 months your husband's been away.
Yeah. And
she was like, I gotta go home. I gotta set up the house. I mean, she had the most beautiful banners, welcome home, all these beautiful things. And I had understand that he had been married before, and that was never done for him. And it was just really, she really wanted to make sure that
intentions were there. Yeah.
And she was like, I gotta go. My man's coming home.
That's it. My man.
Thank you to my man. And he was coming home, and she went home and she set everything up. And I was like, girl, where's the pictures? Like, it's like she went ghost for a couple of days. And I was like, I bet you did. I was like, your man's home. And they went to Italy, and they had the most amazing trip in Italy. They were in Milan. Okay, first of all, I'm the one with a fashion degree.
Right.
Okay, I'm the one who was in fashion for 10 years.
I remember.
And my sister goes to Milan in the fall.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
During fashion week.
During fashion. I'm like, what about? I'm so type jealous right now. Yeah. But she went, and she had the most amazing time with him.
I know. I saw her pictures.
She went to the Prada store. She bought a fuzzy hat.
I love it.
They went to the Dolomites, and they were up in the mountains, and it's just so amazing how God works, because she was blasting me with photos of her having this amazing trip, and it really was magical where she was. They came back, and a couple days later they were driving from their house to my aunt's house, who lives in North Carolina.
And absolutely, and set that story straight, because as we talked about in the last episode, how they the news outlet
Right.
said
How
something
they
really,
kind of twisted
yeah,
it.
like
He
it wasn't
failure to leave,
yield.
yield. Right.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, they were basically at an intersection.
Sure.
This is a rural part of North Carolina. There are no streetlights in this entire town. There are some stop signs. They did not put four-way stop signs most of the place. You see at the intersection, every other area
Right.
is completely clean.
Yeah.
And this particular area, it looks like there had been an accident. The stop sign was removed. They put the stop sign back. They put it back 20 feet from the curb.
Got it.
And there was just so much overgrowth here,
Yeah.
which is where the truck was coming from.
Oh, so they just, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there's an active investigation going on right now, but the understanding is that they stopped at the stop sign and they rolled a little bit forward so they could see. They couldn't see. And this truck came out of nowhere and instantly killed them.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, just for, you know, it's to have two healers in this world. I mean, Simba was 29 years serving this country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my sister being a doctor and doing all of these things, it is devastating in a story of itself, of just this love that they were planning on doing. I mean, he was going to retire soon from the Navy. He was going into politics. He had met the mayor of Virginia Beach and he was going to mentor him. And because, you know, my sister was going to Virginia Beach, and that's actually where they had all started. And they started in Norfolk, Virginia.
Right. Yeah.
So going back to Virginia was like, great. They're going like back home to where it all started. And so, you know, everything was really cut short. And, you know, one thing I can think of my sister is that like she had a lot of favorites. And I just kept thinking about like all her favorite things. People say, "Oh, you love everything." I'm like, I just have a lot of favorites. I love little tchotchkes. I love,
same.
you know, I love this. I love that. I'm not ready to date because I don't like men right now.
Yeah,
we'll get
that's
there.
okay.
We'll get there too.
That's an episode.
That's another episode of relationships and grief.
Yeah.
But I literally made a notes app of like all my favorite things because I'm like, I don't have another talking stage in me, and I don't.
Well, you got your standards.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I was like writing down all her favorite things.
Yeah.
And mine, and it was like I remember when my ex-mother-in-law had passed, the first thing my daughter said was, "I don't want to forget her." And it's like, I never thought of that.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? But you're right. And we've talked about how the stages of grief, like when you're going through grief, you forget everything.
In the beginning.
I have reports that I have to do every Friday. I completely forgot the office. My mom is going through the same thing.
Yes.
You know, you just have this like forgetfulness because you're just going through so many emotions and things like that. Right. Memory loss is a very big part of grief.
Huge.
And so I was like, let me remember all of her favorite things. And then I just started writing. And so I wrote this, so I'll share it. So I said, Natalie had a lot of favorites. She liked anything with sloths, avocados, or sunflowers on it. Just brought me some sunflowers. Vanilla ice cream with rainbow sprinkles, sour gummy worms, Jordans, wrap, gold eyeshadow, Warhol, Basquiat, Bansky, oysters, octopus, lamb chops. She liked her cocktails, and she would give you a hard time if you didn't enjoy one with her. Oh, but she loved her family. She loved medicine and helping people. She loved on the misfortunate, the disenfranchised, the sick. She loved many people that she met in the Navy, and she married her favorite one. Simba came into our lives, and I saw my one and only sister have a love we all dream of. It was filled with laughter and thoughtfulness, excitement and protection, zero judgment. They were each other's biggest support system. Simba always had a stillness and warmth that could capture a room. She gave me my big brother. Our families have merged, and we have since talked so much about our favorite things about Natalie and Simba, and we went on for days. In the end, they found love, and they took it with them. May God welcome both of them to his kingdom with open arms and guard their souls with a peace only he can provide. Thank you, Simba, for walking my sister home and take care of my favorite.
That was so sweet.
Thank you. So beautiful. If I can talk about her favorite things and, you know,
to keep her
that
alive.
Really sums it up.
Yeah.
You know, we can talk about her accolades and things like that, but, you know, you can Google all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
She's published.
Right,
you know, She's got medical degrees and
I love that.
journalism degrees, and And I definitely wrote all of that in her obituary and stuff. But she was much more than her accomplishments,
Yes, yes.
and she was
Well,
funny
that's
as
it.
hell.
Right. And she was just such a she turned out to be such a strong, powerful woman.
Right.
And again, right, like just to go back to this, like it's you know, I couldn't even, I still can't fathom the thought. So
Right.
even for you to, talk about her and you're still with the present tense and then the past tense.
Yeah.
I know where you are with your grief.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, like, I don't like to say was, but I do feel like, man, she is, and she will
Yeah.
always be just, she always made an impact in my life.
Right.
And, she always made impact in anyone's life she touched. And, that's kind of cliche, right? A lot of people say that,
Right.
but no, like
she was a presence.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
a force.
Yeah.
She was
Yes.
definitely a force.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
and I think about that because it's like 37 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, man, but it's like if you look at the things that she's did in her 37 years, a lot of
she
people don't do
conquered.
in lifetimes,
Yes.
know?
Conquered.
Yeah.
She conquered.
Yeah. So
you
I'm
know.
always proud of her. What I can say is like I never missed an opportunity to tell her like how amazing she was, how proud I was of her.
Yeah.
And going through her stuff, I find like the birthday card I gave her for her 21st birthday. And I was like, damn, she saved this shit for 16 years. Like, it's really
Yeah.
sweet, and things like that. But I think my advice with grief would just really be to like keep the relationship.
Right.
Like
Right.
you a lot of times we feel like these loved ones have passed on and you like they're gone, like they don't have a relationship. And it's
Right.
like I talk to her all the time.
Right.
I kiss her photo. I talk to her all the time. I try to make it like part of my life. Even when we're going to the cemetery, like when I tell my kids, I'm like, oh, we're gonna go see Tita.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not even like, oh, we're going to her grave, we're going to the cemetery. It's like, oh, we're
Right.
gonna go. I gotta go see my sis this weekend. Like
Right.
that's kind of how it is.
And it's still going to continue like
yeah,
that.
it's like, I gotta go see my sister, I gotta go see my brother-in-law, I gotta go,
Right. Yeah.
And I can say, as much as this episode is dedicated to my sister, it is as much dedicated to my brother-in-law.
Absolutely.
I mean, that
Absolutely.
man was in my life for a very short time and made such an impact.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I call him is when I knew it was true.
Right.
Because
Right.
my sister on her phone, she got a couple drinks, she goes to sleep, she didn't answer that phone. You know what I mean?
Right,
And now
right.
she's like, her husband's home and she's not working. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
But when I called that man's phone, like
Right.
it was like second ring.
Yeah.
He would be on the ship, not miss a Mother's Day, not miss like, so when I called her phone and it was off,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, And when I called his phone and it was off, I pick up the phone, I call my mom. I was like, I think this is
This
real.
is real.
Yeah.
Right. Mm.
So I honor them. I honor their love. I honor their legacy. And let me tell you something. If the love ain't an eighth of what I saw between them,
Right.
it's not worth time.
Right.
So it is a very big lesson on love. And yeah, you can say like, oh, they were newlyweds and things like that. Yeah, but they had lived lives
Right.
before being together.
Right.
And it was like a judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
You got baby mamas, you
Yeah.
got kids, you got this, you got that, you
Yeah.
this, you drink too much, like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes my sister would like have a little bit to drink and I'd be like, oh God, this
Here we
is so
go.
loud,
Here we go.
and he'd be like, hey man,
Yeah.
he was always, hey man, he was just, and I'm just like, how do you deal with her?
Yeah.
And it's just great. It's just great. It was such a beautiful display of love. They are buried together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just nice visiting them today. And I will always speak of their love and speak of them and just try to live in the joy that they both brought me.
What a beautiful dedication.
Thank you. Thank you.
Especially for episode 3 and bringing that to, to the forefront and being able to share like how this all, came about.
Right.
And, just to honor her and honor her name and your brother-in-law Simba as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We left him a little lion today on his, the Veterans Cemetery doesn't let you do anything.
No,
It's
they
like,
don't.
you have to bring this or you have to bring that. You
Plastic,
can't have
yeah.
this. And I was like, okay, well, I've got like this little lion and we put it in there. And so,
I love it.
yeah, so
I love
we
it.
find our little ways to have joy.
Love that.
Thank you.
Well, sleep in peace, Natalie and Simba.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're going to wrap up. Talk to you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode.